2, 1. You talking to me?
Talking to me?
You talking to me?
Talking to me?
But I'm the only one here. I lie, I am not the only one here. I have with me 4 up-and-coming young screenwriters who are going to share with us the joy and agony of screenwriting. So when you did it in this sort of like light-hearted, quirky way, is it something that you specified in your script, or was it something that you figured out on set?
Like, I think we were all on the same page in terms of like the kind of quirkiness we wanted in the film. Yeah, so I think that kind of came out more or less the way I wanted it.
You also directed this, right?
Yeah, writing is a very important thing to me. So like most of the times, like I only trust myself to direct the story that I've written. Because like, I feel like no one would know it best other than like, the image that I have in my head, right? But this is the first time that I was open to co-directing, and I think it was pretty much a pleasant experience. I think it's seeing another perspective to the story, and sometimes actually opening your mind to another perspective might not be a bad idea after all.
Okay, tell us about your favorite line from your film.
I guess my favorite line in my film is when the daughter Jean, when she talks to her aunt, and she says that I wish Mummy could also see things the same way.
I wish Mummy could also see things the same way.
And the fact that her mum thinks that the value of a person comes by how you look on the outside. Whether you look pretty on the outside, whether you look great on the outside, whether you achieve this, you get into this, contrasted with actually just being what the daughter character Jean wants to be, which is just a simple character and just being content.
Yeah, that's a great line. It really speaks to I guess a sentiment that a lot of us have in many different situations.
There's a scene in my film that actually has the 2 boys sitting outside a mini-mart. In their conversation outside the mini-mart, there was a moth that actually landed beside my main character, Ethan. So his first reaction is to actually like swat it away. Yeah, however, like his friend Ron actually stops him from doing so. The entire plot of my film is, surrounding the fact that, we are, as children in Singapore and as Asian children, we are constantly like bombarded with these like superstitious beliefs in the culture.
All right, so who else would like to tell us your favorite line from the film?
The scene it's a lunch scene between my main character David and his mother. And so David is a model, so his meals are quite extreme in that it's like a steamed chicken breast and maybe some slices of tomato. So his mom sort of comments on his meals and says, even when I was younger, my diets were never that extreme. And then he sort of has this like quick retort or reply where he says, but we're different, ma. So just leave me alone was the implication of that. And it's kind of like a small low-key moment for me, but I feel like that really sums up the film in a way, in that the way he sees himself is fundamentally different from the way anyone sees him, and the approval or the perfection that he craves can only come from within, from himself. So I think instead of cutting logically or instead of cutting narratively, which is how I initially wrote it, I sort of decided to the emotion of that line was enough for me to jump ahead into the end of the next scene. Yeah.
So I'm actually very interested about what your production process was like, because I'm very sure it was difficult, right? Like in my head, it's like, what do you do? Like Nigel acts, and then after that he goes behind the mon and then he watches, and then like, how is it?
Is the most challenging for me because I've never acted in my life. But like, I don't know, a part of me was just like, I needed to do it to kind of, I guess I just needed to exorcise this thing out of my entire being. Because like it was just like way more than just like a film that I wanted to make. It was like, it meant something to me, and I needed to like, I felt like it was like the best way for me to deal with this part of my life, and after that I can move on.
Okay, do you have a question for somebody else, Nigel?
I think for men, like there's still like a really huge stigma of like you have to fit one kind of like how you
ripped, athletic.
Like you have to be kind of ripped, right? Like what I wanted to ask is like, after making the film, like do you feel like you came to like a different point?
Creating this character, which was essentially going through a similar journey as me, right? Chasing after this impossible ideal. For his, it's literally impossible. But it made me go inwards a lot more and made me question exactly what I was doing, and so a lot of his self-reproach or his disgust for himself comes from within, and it's not a voice that he can switch off. And I think the tension between what you're telling yourself and what society is telling you is a really interesting one, and I think that applies for a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how much of it can you unlearn even? I think that's the scary thing.
Do you have a question for Caleb?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you about your dialogue and like writing in the children's voice.
I actually spoke to a lot of like my cousins who I hardly ever speak to, but then like just to write this like dialogue in this film, I actually went down and like, hey, you know what, like tell me more about this. And I really wanted to hear like, like how children like children talk doesn't make any sense sometimes. Because I think I was holding it like really too tightly in the sense that I wanted to make sense, and like things you're saying were way too mature for what a primary 1 or primary 2 boy would be saying. So that really changed my entire perspective on it, and it really like changed my script writing process as well to really like kind of like I said, like go backwards and also make my characters sound a lot more their age.
I am just gonna find my grandfather. He's on an adventure at this happy place. He also has a Mercedes, What's a Mercedes? I don't know.
Yeah, so I wanted to understand like your thought process of writing like an offbeat character.
I was very aware that it was not very plot driven. I do like characters who are very flawed and very contradictory, and they're very paradoxical. It's like they say one thing but do another kind.
过来帮我.
What I found in your films, all of you, is that you kind of make space for us to relearn what those terms mean, because it's not necessarily that they're weak to a strong, it's just that they're different, right? And we don't always have a language for that or a space for that in the society that we live in. So I feel like you guys are carving out spaces for us to see that in a more language neutral way. Okay, so we end with like maybe a word for what you hope for in the work that you do in the future.
Yeah, I hope like I get to keep doing it. Like I don't even mind if like I end up sucking for like the next 10 movies that I make. But it's just like as long as I'm like given a chance to keep doing it.
So I'm really excited by the possibility that with each step I take, I'm improving along the way.
The word is conversations. Even in I think the process of writing, and also eventually when the film is being made, I just honestly want to have conversations to listen, and also I guess as the film is being made, for me the most rewarding moment is when I actually just sit down and have a conversation with an audience and actually get to hear their perspective of like whatever that they just watched, and when I just get to hear their story again. So it's like a cycle.
I think as much as I want it to be timely, I also want it to be timeless. Timeless in terms of like, I can always like do this and I will always be doing this.
Yeah.
Timely in the sense that like my film kind of has this like, like quality that kind of, tackles the current situation that we are facing, the current trends we are facing, and also, at the same time having this timeless quality that when you watch it in the future or like, watch it like many years down the road, it still applies.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. It was really great talking to you. Thank you for all of the sharing, and I look forward to a lot more of your films. And in the meantime, I wish you a lot of growth, longevity, conversations, and timelessness. And look out for these guys at the National Youth Film Awards 2020. Till next time, this is Zhihao, Vania, Nigel, and Kaylin and Shu An signing off. Bye!